Ladies and gentlemen, in our daily interactions we often seek to connect, to understand and to be understood. Yet, when it comes to building a meaningful connection with a woman, be it in friendship, love or companionship, many find themselves lost, unsure of the right words or actions. The answer, however, is simpler than we think. It lies in three fundamental key words: presence, composure, and understanding, emotionally. Presence is the rarest and most valuable gift you can offer in any relationship, and yet it is the one most often overlooked. In a world that constantly pulls us in different directions, where distractions are abundant and attention is fleeting, the ability to be fully engaged in the moment is a skill that sets a person apart. When you are present, you communicate without words that the person in front of you matters, that their thoughts and feelings are significant, and that, in this moment, nothing is more important than the connection you share. The greatest barrier to presence is distraction. We live in an age of overstimulation, where a constant stream of notifications, responsibilities, and future anxieties compete for our focus. It is easy to sit across from someone and appear to be listening while your mind is elsewhere, replaying past events, planning your next move, or reacting to a buzzing phone in your pocket. But this subtle detachment is felt. A woman notices when your mind drifts, when your gaze flickers toward your screen, or when your responses lack the depth that comes from true attentiveness. Presence is not simply about hearing words. It is about absorbing them, understanding them, and responding in a way that shows you are fully engaged. To cultivate presence, you must first learn to quiet the mind. This requires discipline. It means resisting the urge to check your phone every few minutes, to let go of unnecessary worries, and to focus on what is directly in front of you. Presence is an active state, not a passive one. It requires effort to listen, not just to words, but to tone, expression, and body language. A person who is truly present is perceptive. They notice subtle shifts in energy, the slight hesitation in speech, the momentary flicker of doubt in someone's eyes. These small details reveal far more than words alone ever could. Beyond simple attentiveness, presence also demands patience. Too often people engage in conversations with the primary goal of responding, rather than understanding. They wait for their turn to speak, eager to share their own thoughts rather than absorbing what is being said. This is not presence, this is performance. A person who is present does not rush to fill silences, does not interrupt to assert their perspective, and does not allow their own thoughts to overshadow the person in front of them. Instead, they create space. Space for another's words to unfold naturally, for emotions to be expressed freely, and for understanding to deepen. A woman, like anyone, values presence because it creates a sense of security. When she speaks, she is not always looking for solutions or advice. Sometimes she simply wants to be heard, to know that her words hold weight and that someone truly sees her. Presence is about offering that validation without pretense or agenda. It is about making eye contact, setting distractions aside, and listening with the intent to understand rather than to respond. This is not a performance or a tactic. It is a way of being that, when mastered, fosters genuine connection. Furthermore, presence is about alignment. Aligning your words, actions, and energy with the moment at hand. It means not being burdened by past regrets or paralyzed by future anxieties. Many people allow their minds to be hijacked by thoughts of what has been or what could be, and in doing so, they fail to fully experience what is happening now. A person who is present is not weighed down by past failures or consumed by worries of the future. They are here, fully engaged, fully aware, and that awareness is felt by those around them. In relationships, presence fosters trust. A woman who feels your presence knows that you are dependable, that you are not simply going through the motions but are actively participating in the connection you share. When you are truly present, your words carry more weight, your actions feel more intentional, and your presence itself becomes a source of comfort. People gravitate toward those who make them feel seen, heard, and valued, and that begins with the ability to be fully engaged in every interaction. Presence is also about energy. You do not have to speak constantly to hold space for someone. Sometimes the most powerful presence is a quiet one, a presence that listens without judgment, that observes without impatience, that exists without the need for validation. A person who embodies this kind of presence does not demand attention, they command it naturally, simply by being fully attuned to the moment. They create an atmosphere of calm, one that others feel drawn to, one that allows for openness and vulnerability. Ultimately, presence is not just about how you interact with others, it is about how you interact with life itself. When you cultivate presence in your relationships, you cultivate it in all areas of your existence. You become more mindful in your actions, more appreciative of small moments, and more attuned to the beauty of everyday experiences. This state of being is rare, and it is powerful. It is not something that can be faked or forced. It must be developed through conscious effort and discipline, but once mastered, it transforms not only your relationships but your entire way of experiencing the world. Composure is the silent strength that defines a person's character in the face of challenges, uncertainty, or emotional turbulence. It is the ability to remain steady, unmoved by external chaos, and in full command of one's emotions and reactions. In relationships, composure is what sets apart those who can navigate difficulties with grace from those who crumble under pressure. It is the difference between someone who reacts impulsively and someone who responds with intention. A woman, like anyone else, seeks security, not in the sense of control or dominance, but in the presence of someone whose stability can be relied upon. When composure is cultivated, it fosters trust, respect, and a deeper level of connection that words alone cannot achieve. Life is unpredictable, and emotions are an unavoidable part of being human. There will always be situations that test patience, challenge ego, or provoke frustration. However, the measure of a person is not in how they feel these emotions, but in how they manage them. A person with composure does not suppress emotions, but rather understands them, processes them, and chooses their response wisely. They do not allow anger, fear, or anxiety to dictate their actions. Instead, they recognize these emotions for what they are: temporary states that should never have the power to control long-term decisions. This level of self-mastery requires discipline. It is not something that happens naturally. It is cultivated through awareness, self-reflection, and restraint. A lack of composure often reveals itself in the form of impulsivity, quick, thoughtless reactions that are driven by heightened emotions. Many people regret words spoken in anger, decisions made in frustration, or actions taken in fear. These are moments when emotion overrides reason, and in relationships, they can cause lasting damage. A person who lacks composure can be unpredictable, volatile, or emotionally exhausting to be around. In contrast, someone who embodies composure provides a sense of calm, a grounding presence that allows others to feel safe and understood. This is not about being emotionless. It is about ensuring that emotions do not become a source of instability. Composure is also tied to resilience. There will be disagreements, misunderstandings, and moments of difficulty in any relationship. A person who is easily shaken by conflict will struggle to maintain healthy dynamics. Those who panic at the first sign of trouble or respond with defensiveness rather than understanding create an environment of tension rather than harmony. A composed person, however, does not let external challenges dictate their inner state. When faced with conflict, they listen before reacting. They seek clarity before assuming, and they remain patient rather than escalating the situation further. This ability to remain calm under pressure diffuses tension and creates space for real communication. In addition to emotional steadiness, composure also influences how a person carries themselves in daily life. Confidence is often misunderstood as loudness, assertiveness, or dominance, but true confidence is quiet. It is the ability to remain steady even when things are uncertain. It is the quiet assurance that no matter the situation, one will handle it with grace and thoughtfulness. A composed individual does not need to prove themselves through aggression or exaggerated displays of control. They know their worth, and their actions reflect that inner confidence, without the need for validation. This level of self-assurance is deeply attractive, not because it seeks attention, but because it exudes reliability. Furthermore, composure is about maintaining control over one's own mind. The external world is filled with distractions, provocations, and situations that could easily disturb peace of mind. But a composed person does not allow themselves to be ruled by circumstances beyond their control. They understand that not every situation warrants a reaction, and that sometimes the strongest response is no response at all. They do not waste energy on unnecessary conflicts, nor do they allow the emotions of others to dictate their own state of mind. This detachment from external chaos is not indifference. It is a recognition that one's inner world should not be constantly swayed by what happens outside of it. A composed person is also someone who can provide emotional security for others. When a woman feels the presence of someone who is stable, who does not lash out or crumble under pressure, she feels safe to express herself freely. She knows that her words will be met with patience rather than impulsivity, that her emotions will not be dismissed or weaponized, and that in difficult moments, the person she is with will not lose themselves in reactionary behavior. This kind of steadiness is rare, and it is something that people naturally gravitate toward. Ultimately, composure is not about controlling others or situations. It is about mastering oneself. It is about ensuring that emotions serve their purpose without dictating behavior. It is about carrying oneself with quiet confidence, navigating life's challenges with steadiness, and fostering an environment where true connection can flourish. Those who cultivate composure find that their relationships improve, their decision-making becomes clearer, and their overall sense of well-being strengthens. It is a quality that demands practice, but once developed, it becomes a defining trait that sets a person apart. Understanding is the foundation of any meaningful connection. It is the ability to see beyond words, beyond surface-level emotions, and into the deeper reality of another person's experiences, fears, and desires. When people seek connection, they are not simply looking for conversation or companionship. They are searching for someone who truly sees them, who listens without judgment, and who makes an effort to comprehend their inner world. This kind of understanding cannot be forced or faked. It requires patience, empathy, and a genuine willingness to put aside one's own perspectives long enough to truly absorb someone else's. Many people listen with the intent to respond, rather than to understand. They hear words, but they do not absorb their meaning. Their minds are occupied with forming a reply, with anticipating what they will say next, or with subtly shifting the focus of the conversation back to themselves. This is not true understanding. When a woman speaks, she is not always seeking a solution or advice. Sometimes she simply wants to be heard, to have her feelings acknowledged without being minimized or dismissed. The ability to listen deeply, to hear not only what is being said, but also what is left unspoken, is a rare and valuable skill. True understanding requires presence. One cannot fully grasp another person's emotions if they are distracted, impatient, or rushing through a conversation. It demands attentiveness, not just to words, but to tone, body language, and the emotions that exist beneath the surface. A person's true feelings are often not expressed in what they say directly, but in the pauses, the hesitations, the way their eyes shift when speaking about something important. Recognizing these subtle cues and responding with care makes all the difference in making someone feel truly understood. Another critical aspect of understanding is the ability to withhold judgment. People often fear being misunderstood because they have experienced situations where their emotions were dismissed, criticized, or met with indifference. They learn to withhold parts of themselves, to speak less openly, to guard their feelings, rather than risk being judged. But when they encounter someone who listens without immediately forming opinions, who makes them feel safe to express themselves fully, they begin to open up in ways they never have before. This is the kind of connection that builds trust, the kind that allows someone to feel fully seen and accepted. Patience is also an essential part of understanding. Not everyone expresses themselves clearly, and not everyone reveals their thoughts and emotions immediately. Sometimes understanding requires waiting for someone to find the right words, to feel safe enough to open up, or to process their own emotions before sharing them. Rushing this process, demanding clarity too soon, or pressing for answers before someone is ready, only creates pressure and discomfort. True understanding allows for time, for space, and for the natural unfolding of thoughts and feelings. Empathy is at the core of real understanding. It is not just about hearing what someone says, but about putting oneself in their position, about imagining what it feels like to be them in that moment. This does not mean assuming one knows exactly what another person is experiencing. No two people feel things in the same way, but it does mean making an effort to see things from their perspective, rather than imposing one's own. It means resisting the urge to say, "I know how you feel," and instead asking, "Can you help me understand what this feels like for you?" Understanding also involves recognizing that people have different ways of processing emotions. Some are more vocal, expressing themselves freely, while others need time to reflect before they can articulate what they feel. Some seek comfort through words, while others prefer quiet support. A person who understands another deeply does not impose their own preferred method of dealing with emotions onto them, but instead adapts, meeting them where they are rather than where they expect them to be. Another important aspect of understanding is learning to navigate differences without conflict. No two people will always see things the same way, and disagreements are inevitable. But understanding does not mean always agreeing. It means recognizing that another person's perspective is valid, even if it differs from one's own. It means seeking to understand before seeking to be understood, prioritizing connection over the need to be right. It is about realizing that the goal of communication is not to win an argument, but to bridge the gap between two perspectives in a way that strengthens the relationship rather than weakens it. Understanding is not just about words, it is about action. It is about remembering small details that matter to someone, recognizing when they are feeling off even when they do not say it, and showing through consistent behavior that their feelings and experiences are valued. It is about knowing when to offer support and when to give space, when to speak and when to simply listen. It is an ongoing effort, a practice that deepens over time, and one that creates a level of trust that is unshakable. At its core, understanding is the willingness to step outside of oneself long enough to truly grasp what another person is feeling. It is not about solving problems or fixing emotions, but about holding space for them. It is about creating an environment where someone feels safe to express themselves, knowing they will be met with patience, empathy, and genuine care. When understanding is present in a relationship, it fosters a connection that goes beyond words, beyond surface interactions, and into something deeply meaningful. Emotional safety is the foundation of trust in any meaningful relationship. It is the feeling of being able to express oneself freely without fear of judgment, ridicule, or emotional withdrawal. It is the certainty that one's thoughts, feelings, and vulnerabilities will be met with understanding and respect, rather than dismissal or criticism. Emotional safety is not just about avoiding conflict. It is about creating an environment where someone feels seen, heard, and valued without having to filter their emotions or guard their words. In any relationship, especially between a man and a woman, this safety is what allows for true openness, deep connection, and long-term stability. When emotional safety is present, a person feels comfortable being vulnerable. They do not have to constantly weigh their words, worry about being misunderstood, or fear that their emotions will be used against them. They know that even in disagreement, their feelings will be respected. This level of security is rare, yet it is what every person unconsciously seeks in their interactions. Without emotional safety, communication becomes cautious, surface level, and disconnected. When people feel unsafe emotionally, they either shut down, suppressing their true selves, or they become defensive, always ready for criticism or rejection. Neither response fosters genuine connection. One of the greatest threats to emotional safety is dismissiveness. When someone shares something meaningful, whether a fear, a frustration, or a personal struggle, and it is met with indifference, condescension, or minimization, it creates distance. A person who repeatedly experiences this will begin to close themselves off, convinced that expressing their true emotions is not worth the risk. Over time, this leads to resentment, emotional disconnection, and a growing sense of isolation, even in the presence of another person. Emotional safety, on the other hand, is built when emotions are acknowledged and validated rather than dismissed. It does not mean always agreeing, but it does mean always listening, always making space for feelings to be expressed without fear of ridicule or rejection. Consistency is another key component of emotional safety. A person who is unpredictable in their reactions, calm one moment and explosive the next, creates an environment of emotional instability. If someone never knows whether their words will be met with patience or anger, with understanding or withdrawal, they begin to tread carefully, choosing silence over expression. Emotional safety requires a steady presence, one that does not shift dramatically based on mood or external stress. When someone knows they can rely on another's emotional steadiness, they feel safe to open up fully, without the constant worry of triggering a negative reaction. Another element of emotional safety is the ability to handle conflict in a healthy way. Disagreements are inevitable, but they should never make a person feel emotionally endangered. If conflict turns into personal attacks, manipulation, or emotional withdrawal, it erodes safety. A person who feels they must choose between staying silent or enduring a storm of criticism will eventually choose silence. Not out of agreement, but out of exhaustion. However, when conflict is handled with patience, respect, and a commitment to understanding rather than winning, it strengthens rather than weakens the relationship. Disagreements should be approached as opportunities for growth, not as battles to be won. Emotional safety is also about trust, not just in the sense of faithfulness, but in the assurance that one's emotions will be treated with care. Trust is not built through grand gestures or fleeting moments of affection. It is built through daily consistency, through small moments of reassurance, through the quiet but powerful understanding that someone's emotions are never a burden. This trust allows for depth in a relationship, because only when a person feels emotionally secure can they reveal their truest self. One of the simplest, yet most profound ways to create emotional safety is through active listening. It is not enough to simply hear words. One must listen with the intention of understanding. This means not interrupting, not immediately offering solutions unless they are asked for, and not making the conversation about oneself. Many people, without realizing it, respond to vulnerability with dismissal, offering quick fixes, changing the subject, or comparing the situation to their own experiences. But emotional safety is not about problem solving. It is about presence. It is about making someone feel that their emotions are worth sitting with, worth exploring, and worth being heard. Another crucial aspect of emotional safety is the ability to apologize and take responsibility. No one is perfect, and moments of insensitivity or miscommunication are inevitable. What matters is how these moments are handled. A person who refuses to acknowledge when they have hurt someone, who deflects blame or makes excuses, creates an environment of insecurity. But a person who takes responsibility for their words and actions, who is willing to learn from mistakes and make genuine efforts to improve, fosters trust. The willingness to admit fault is not a sign of weakness. It is a sign of strength, because it shows that the relationship is valued over ego. Emotional safety is also about allowing space for emotions without rushing to fix them. Not all emotions need a solution. Sometimes they simply need to be expressed. When someone is struggling, they do not always need advice or a strategy to feel better. They need to feel that they are not alone. They need to know that their emotions, no matter how messy or complicated, are not an inconvenience. A person who can sit with another's emotions without trying to control, change, or rush them creates a profound sense of security. Ultimately, emotional safety is what allows relationships to thrive. It is what makes communication honest, what makes vulnerability possible, and what ensures that connection is not based on temporary attraction or convenience, but on something deeper and lasting. It is not something that happens by accident. It is something that is built, moment by moment, through patience, consistency, and a true commitment to understanding and respecting another person's emotions. Beyond words lies the essence of true connection. While language is a powerful tool for communication, it is often the unspoken elements that define the depth and authenticity of a relationship. A meaningful connection is not built solely on what is said, but on the silent gestures, the subtle cues, and the presence that speaks volumes without the need for words. It is in these moments, when understanding flows without explanation, when emotions are conveyed through action rather than speech, that a deeper bond is formed. Words may explain feelings, but what truly resonates, what truly remains, is the energy, the consistency, and the unspoken understanding that exists between two people. Presence is one of the most powerful forms of communication that exists beyond words. Simply being there, fully engaged, without distractions or divided attention, communicates far more than any phrase ever could. In a world filled with constant noise, where attention is easily fragmented, the ability to offer undivided presence is rare and deeply valued. When someone feels that they are truly seen, truly heard, without the interference of phones, schedules, or wandering thoughts, they experience a level of connection that transcends verbal expression. Presence conveys that they matter, that their emotions are important, and that their existence is valued. Another dimension of communication beyond words is body language, the way a person looks at another, the way they lean in when listening, the way their posture changes in moments of comfort or tension. All of these speak louder than words. A single glance can convey reassurance, a gentle touch can provide comfort, and an embrace can communicate understanding in a way that no sentence ever could. People may not always remember the exact words spoken in a moment of vulnerability, but they will remember how they felt in the presence of another. They will recall the warmth, the steadiness, or the lack thereof, and that feeling will shape the connection far more than any spoken reassurance. Consistency is another unspoken language of connection. Words can be easily spoken, but it is actions that reveal truth. A person can say they care, but if their behavior is inconsistent, their words lose meaning. When someone shows up time and time again without needing to be asked, without needing to be convinced, their actions build a foundation of trust, stronger than any verbal promise. The reliability of a person's presence, the way they honor their commitments, and the way they respond in moments of difficulty all communicate their intentions and character far more than words ever could. Silence itself is a powerful form of connection. In the presence of true understanding, silence is not awkward, it is comforting. The ability to sit with another person without the need to fill every moment with conversation signifies a level of ease and trust that goes beyond verbal communication. When two people can exist together in quiet, feeling no pressure to entertain or explain, it speaks to a bond that does not rely on external validation. It signifies a mutual understanding that words are not always necessary to feel close. Acts of service are another way that love, care, and respect are expressed beyond words. A simple gesture, bringing someone a cup of tea when they are feeling unwell, remembering the little details that bring them comfort, offering support without being asked, can communicate love more powerfully than 1,000 declarations. These small but intentional actions demonstrate attentiveness, thoughtfulness, and a deep desire to contribute to the other person's well-being. In contrast, empty words without action become meaningless over time. True connection is not built on grand statements, but on the quiet, consistent ways in which someone shows up when it matters most. Emotional attunement is perhaps one of the deepest forms of communication that goes beyond words. It is the ability to sense when something is off, even when nothing is said. It is the ability to recognize when someone needs space and when they need closeness, when they need reassurance and when they need silence. This level of understanding does not come from logic or reason alone. It comes from deep presence and emotional intelligence. It is the ability to pick up on subtle shifts, to read between the lines, and to offer support in the exact way it is needed. Another way connection goes beyond words is in the ability to endure difficult moments without pulling away. In times of pain, uncertainty, or emotional turmoil, words often fail to capture the depth of what is felt. In these moments, it is not what is said that matters most, but rather who stays, who remains present, and who offers the quiet strength needed to endure hardship together. When someone can sit with another in their sorrow without trying to fix or minimize it, they provide a level of comfort that words alone cannot achieve. Beyond words lies the truth of human connection. The energy exchanged between people, the unspoken gestures that carry meaning, the trust built through consistency, and the depth found in shared silence. While words can clarify and explain, they are only one layer of communication. True connection exists in what is felt, what is shown, and what is understood, without the need for constant explanation. It is in these silent moments of presence, in the steady reliability of action, and in the quiet reassurance of being seen and accepted, that relationships find their deepest strength. A life principle is more than just a guiding rule or a piece of advice. It is a foundation upon which actions, decisions, and perspectives are built. It is a deeply held belief that shapes how a person navigates the world, interacts with others, and responds to challenges. A life principle is not something temporary or situational. It is a constant, an anchor that remains steady regardless of circumstances. It provides clarity in moments of uncertainty, strength in times of struggle, and a sense of direction when faced with difficult choices. Without a solid life principle, people can find themselves drifting, reacting to life rather than intentionally shaping it. One of the defining aspects of a life principle is that it is rooted in something deeper than fleeting emotions or external influences. While emotions fluctuate and circumstances change, a true life principle is unwavering. It is not based on what is convenient in the moment, but on what is fundamentally right, meaningful, and aligned with one's values. It is the internal compass that guides a person's behavior, even when no one is watching, even when the easier path is tempting. Those who live without clear principles often find themselves swayed by external pressures, making decisions based on immediate gratification rather than long-term integrity. A strong life principle, however, serves as a protective barrier against impulsive actions and regretful choices. A life principle also creates consistency in a person's character. Without a guiding principle, a person may behave one way in certain situations and another way in others, leading to unpredictability and a lack of reliability. But when a person's actions are aligned with a stable principle, they become someone who can be counted on, someone who is steady, trustworthy, and unwavering in their values. This consistency is what builds respect in relationships, both personal and professional. People gravitate toward those who stand firm in their beliefs, who do not shift their character based on convenience or social pressure. Another key aspect of a life principle is that it provides clarity in decision-making. Life is filled with difficult choices, and without a clear internal guide, it is easy to become overwhelmed by doubt, fear, or external opinions. A strong principle acts as a filter through which decisions are made. Instead of being pulled in different directions by temporary emotions or conflicting advice, a person with a clear principle can ask themselves, does this align with what I truly believe? Does this choice reflect the kind of person I want to be? When decisions are made from a place of principle rather than impulse, they lead to greater long-term fulfillment and fewer regrets. A well-established life principle also strengthens resilience. Life is unpredictable, and challenges are inevitable. There will be moments of loss, failure, and hardship that test a person's resolve. Those who lack a guiding principle often find themselves feeling lost or defeated in these moments, unsure of how to move forward. But those who have a deeply ingrained principle, whether it be perseverance, integrity, gratitude, or self-discipline, have a foundation to rely on when things become difficult. They do not collapse under pressure because they have already decided, long before the challenge arrived, how they will respond to adversity. They do not need to debate whether to give up or keep going, because their principle has already answered that question for them. A life principle is not something that is imposed by others. It is something that must be consciously chosen. It is not enough to adopt a principle simply because it sounds noble or because it is widely accepted. For it to truly shape a person's life, it must be something they deeply believe in, something they are willing to uphold even when it is inconvenient, even when no one else is following it. The process of choosing a life principle requires self-reflection, examining what truly matters, what values are non-negotiable, and what kind of legacy one wants to leave behind. It requires looking beyond temporary desires and asking, what do I want to define my life? A strong life principle also extends beyond the self. It affects the way a person treats others, the way one interacts with people, whether with kindness, patience, honesty, or respect, should be a reflection of their guiding principle. If someone claims to value integrity but lies when it is convenient, or if they claim to believe in kindness but only extend it when they feel like it, then their principle is not truly integrated into their life. The real principle is not selective. It is applied consistently in all situations, even when no one is there to acknowledge it. Having a life principle does not mean being rigid or unwilling to grow. In fact, true principles are those that can be deepened and refined over time. They are not meant to limit a person's potential, but to provide a strong foundation upon which growth can take place. A principle should not be mistaken for stubbornness or an unwillingness to listen to new perspectives. Instead, it should be seen as a grounding force that allows for learning and adaptation without losing one's core values. A person with a strong principle remains open to new insights while staying rooted in what they stand for. Ultimately, a life principle is what separates a life of purpose from a life of aimlessness. It is what ensures that a person does not simply react to life circumstances, but actively shapes their own path. It provides the strength to withstand difficulties, the clarity to make wise choices, and the consistency to build meaningful relationships. In a world filled with distractions, pressures, and ever-changing expectations, a strong life principle serves as an anchor, a steady, unshakable force that allows a person to remain true to themselves no matter what. A life principle is more than just an idea. It is the foundation upon which a meaningful and purposeful life is built. It shapes decisions, strengthens resilience, and creates a sense of direction that remains steady in an ever-changing world. In the end, it is not our words or fleeting desires that define us, but the principles we uphold through our actions. When we commit to living by a principle that aligns with our deepest values, we create a life of integrity, consistency, and purpose. One that leaves a lasting impact not only on ourselves, but on those around us.